All right, guys, welcome back to Stay at Home and Brew It. We have a really special guest with us today. Jason is a good friend of ours. He's our Muntons rep, and he knows a lot about home brewing, and so I just thought it'd be kind of cool. He's up there in Boston, and so you're right
Yeah,
there. You're right there near the heat of all of it, aren't you, Jason?
yeah, we haven't been hit as bad as New York City, but it's a little bit rough, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So Jason and I get to travel a lot around together, go and visit accounts quite a bit on our pro side, and but we hadn't got to see you in a while, buddy. We're ready.
I know I was all penciled in to come down for Blue Bonnet, and that had get canceled, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
have to do something soon once all this hopefully blows over.
Well, you said you'd never been to New Orleans, so maybe we need to make a trip down there. But it's a little hot down there, I think, right now. So it might be a while before we get down there. We probably want to go
Yeah,
in the fall or the spring anyway, because it's kind of hot down there in the summer. I'm just saying, but you might melt.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean Houston for Operation Fermentation. That was hot enough.
It definitely was. So anyway,
Yeah.
the reason I wanted to bring Jason on is he's a wealth of knowledge of malt and malting process, and that's what he does for a living. He works for Muntons Malt, of course, and so we just thought we would do some general, just talk about your background, Jason, and then maybe talk generally about malt and what makes a good malt, what makes Muntons a great product, and everybody
Hmm.
has been truly, raving about the Planet Malt. I mean, the sales up here is just going astronomical because I think a lot of people were originally using the malt for hazy IPAs and stuff of that nature, and then it's just really kind of blown up because people are like, man, I like it so much in my hazy, I'm going to try it in some other stuff. So it's been a huge seller for us on the homebrew side as well as the pro side. So I think it's a unique product, and I think it's something that we really like down here. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about Muntons products and you know I'll just let you rip, man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So my background, I started as a home brewer, so I've been home brewing since 2012. I've had a blog since 2015, the Would Be Brewmaster. And then from there, I had a sales background, knew a bit about beer. I was a BJCP judge. So I saw Muntons was hiring for a sales rep, was kind of able to marry the sales and the brewing and everything else. And I've been with Muntons since August of 2017. I still brew quite a bit, especially now. I'm off the road. Customers don't want to see me. Brewers are doing everything they can to keep their heads above water. So most of what I do is all grain. I still dabble and extract a little bit from time to time. Um, and I got three beers right here that I brewed for NHC. So we're talking a little bit about Planet. This one right here is an Irish Extra Stout. So the base on this is Planet. There was a pound of wheat malt, a pound of flake barley, and a pound of roasted barley. It's super smooth, easy to drink. One of my favorite beers. I love Guinness Draft, but the Guinness Extra Stout, the one that comes in bottles, it's conventionally carbonated. That's just a beer that it's always good. It's easy drinking, 5%. It's got that little roastiness, but has a little bit of sweetness to it. And I think the Planet Malt really does that in this one too. The Planet Pale is the base.
Well, and that's one of the
So
things that's been kind of our experience with the Planet, and this is kind of the way I sell it. Is the Planet Malt is, if you like Marisada, you're probably a good chance that you'd like the Planet Malt, and I think
mhm.
it has some of the similar flavors. I would say that it's less tannic maybe than
Yes.
Marisada, because there's a more of an endosperm to husk ratio, so that kind of gives you a little bit more of that malty flavor with less of the tannic flavor that you get. That's okay. Some people like that in Marisada. That's
Yep.
okay. But
Hmm.
well, the good news is it's a lot more affordable than Marisada. So there's
Yeah.
there's lots of different benefits to it. But that's one of the things that and also for some reason maybe you can explain this. It does have a great haze stabilization.
Yep. So we're talking about Planet. That's the barley varietal itself. So Planet, it's a spring barley. It's our flagship spring barley. We've been selling it in the U.S. probably since early 2019. Um, where Maris Otter, that's a winter barley, and that's more of an heirloom variety. It's been around since 1967. Um, so part of the reason why a malt like Planet, you're going to get less of that tannic kind of nutty, fuddy flavor is just the kernels are bigger. So you're having less husk, per weight in your grist. That's just by virtue of it being a newer variety. So as these new barley varieties get developed, you want plumper kernels, you want better extract. Traditionally you wanted lower protein because typically lower protein or lower nitrogen means you're going to get higher extract. So that's something on the pro side that's definitely a big selling point. You talk to a brewer who's using American malt, most of our customers to switch from American to something like Planet, their yields going up, about 5% typically, give or take. On the homebrew side, maybe that's less of an issue because it's easy to just, maybe throw an extra pound in a 5-gallon batch. But really, the flavor you get from a quality imported malt like ours or some of the IREX stuff you guys have, the quality really comes through for sure. So in terms of stable haze in a New England IPA, us being American, especially down in Texas, there's the attitude of some is good, more is better. So obviously that haze in those hazy beers, it's coming from protein. So what I think a lot of brewers do is, well, if 10, 15% unmalted flakes or partially modified malt works, let's go bump that up to 25, 30, 40%. But there's a point of diminishing returns because what happens is you'll get a ton of haze at first, and then you have so much haze in suspension, those particles are going to clump, and it's actually going to fall out of suspension. So after a period of time in the keg, that beer is going to clear. So British base malts or imported base malts, they're bred to have less protein to begin with. So most American two rows can be anywhere from 11.5 to 12.5% protein. Planet or Maris Otter, you're maxing out at 10.3%. We have some batches they're even under 10 for those pale malts. So You're getting better extract, less of that protein in solution. So you'll get a stable haze for your New England IPAs, or if you're doing a clear beer like this English bitter I have right here, better, your beer is going to keep longer because you're going to have less of that haze in solution.
Well, that's a great point. I'm glad you pointed it out because I've had a lot of people that actually said, hey, I don't want to use the Planet because I don't want my beer to be hazy. So it's actually quite the opposite of what you think it might be doing, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you're getting clear beer using an American malt or even a Pilsner malt, you'll get clear beer with Planet, no problem.
So I have a question here from somebody that's watching. He says, "Dry Irish Stout was my dry Irish Stout was dinged for not creamy enough. Any tips to improve that?"
Yep. So what I did with the grist for this one, traditionally, the advice would be to add more flakes or unmalted flake barley. That in Guinness, that's kind of traditional agreement to give it that silky mouthfeel. A lot of Irish stouts or Irish style beers are made with a British base malt, like a Maris Otter, like a Planet. Where you can run into trouble sometimes are those British base malts are developed for all malt brewing or to convert a small percentage of the adjuncts. Where American malts, those barley varieties were bred for Bud, Miller, Coors, so they have tons of diastatic power to convert the corn, the rice, and everything else.
And that includes two-row as well, right?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, U.S. two rows these days there's no difference between 2-row and 6-row really anymore. For all intents and purposes.
Well, that's where a whole lot. It's almost impossible to find it anymore. What's 6-row?
Yeah, because nobody really grows it. Yeah, I mean, nobody really grows it anymore. I mean, the difference in diastatic power is so negligible. There's really no point in buying it. The farmers really don't want to grow it anymore because there were certain regions in the upper Midwest, like that kind of like Wisconsin, Minnesota, that grew a lot of 6-row. Now they've moved on to other crops. Where out west, like Montana, Idaho, the Dakotas, or back in the day, California, those were primarily 2-row regions, and those regions have definitely increased in what they're doing. But getting back to the Irish Stout, if you're using like a quality like a pale malt, you might not have enough diastatic power to get full conversion, or it might be slow conversion in the mash. So like Planet or Maris Otter, for example, you're looking at on the low end 50 degrees Lintner for your diastatic power. So if you have 25% of the mash, those unmalted flakes to get that mouthfeel, it might not be enough DP, or it might just take a long time for that to convert. I read about one Irish craft brewery. They use a pale malt as the base, and they would do a step mash to get more beta amylase, to get more of the enzymes they need to convert the unmalted flakes. So that's why for this one, the last batch I did, I used an Irish Stout malt, which is a little bit higher in DP, and then it converted everything no problem. But using a Planet base, I substituted half of my flaked barley for malted wheat, because the wheat is malted. The wheat has its own enzymes. That makes sure I had plenty of DP to get everything converted over. So that's one thing I would suggest. Also, mash a little bit higher, too, to kind of get that residual body. I mean, that's something for any British-style session beer. When in doubt, just mash a little bit higher so you have a little bit more residual sugars in the finished beer, more of that body, so it's a little bit less watery. So I'd say those two things. And depending on how you package the beer, if you bottle condition it, maybe dial back the corn sugar a little bit, lower that carbonation. That'll also increase that perception of the body.
Okay, perfect. So what else you been brewing here lately, Jason? I know you've had plenty of time to brew, right?
Yep, exactly. So this English bitter is an interesting beer. So I was at this brewery in Chicago. I won't name it. I think a lot of American brewers or American home brewers, when they make bitters, they just go way overboard on specialty malts.
Yeah.
And this particular one, it was just super toasty at first. At first, I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Then after 4 or 5 sips, all I could taste was that toast, like amber, biscuit victory malt flavor. And if you're using a quality base malt that you like, a flavorful base malt, I've loved Muntons products since before I was with the company. You don't need to kill the beer with all those specialty malts. This one right here, it's mostly Maris Otter. It's 89% base malt. I was like a pound or two short, so I just threw a little bit of Planet in there because my bin was empty of the Maris. And then a little bit of Crystal 60, and then 2% wheat malt just to give it a little extra body and head retention. And hops just EKG, pack of SO4, went grain to glass in 12 days, and it's awesome. And then this one right here, this is a rebrew, it's a Belgian wit. Looks a little clear on the camera here, but it is hazy. An interesting thing I did with that beer was, for the base malt, I used Muntons Super Pale. So that's one, I think you're the only homebrew retailer, only online retailer that sells that malt. And it's lighter than a two-row. It's lighter than a Pilsner malt. Originally, Muntons developed it for hoppy beers. So we kiln it low and slow, as much as we can to develop as little color in the malt as possible. So it's great in IPAs. I used this in this wit beer by accident. The first time I brewed it, I was going for the Pilsner malt, and I just grabbed the wrong bin. And I thought, well, this should actually work. So the same properties, that light background flavor that lets the hops shine in an IPA really lets the orange and the citrus zest and the spices in this. I also have vanilla and chamomile in here. It really lets those other ingredients come through. So this would work great in a saison. If you want to do a sour, sour ferment, this would be a good choice. Maybe even a Berliner. So these are the 3 I have right here. Yeah, my kegerator's full because I brewed, everything for NHC.
Yeah, that's a good point. The whole super pale. I think people really get confused with that. So I'll kind of break it down a little bit for you guys. The super pale is different because we also have, the extra pale Maris Otter and the extra pale Planet. So I think sometimes people get a little bit confused with that. So we sometimes have questions about that and what's going on with that. So anyway, looks like our video got something's going on with it. I'm not sure. So anyway,
you're okay here.
Oh, okay. Okay, good, good, good. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's a differentiation, and what we've found is it's been a little bit slow actually to be able to get people to start
Mhm.
using it. But I think once people have actually tried it, they really, really, really enjoy it. So
Yeah, because I mean, I had one customer who used that. They switched from a Pilsner base to this. That he was a pro brewer who had used the super pale. His old brewery went to the new brewery. The new place he went to was using a Pils base and everything. Then he switched, their flagship IPA to super pale, and he just told me that the malt makes the beer glow. It's so if you're a home brewer and you want something to make your IPA, especially your New England IPA, a little different, the color is just super super light. It's great for a West Coast IPA because again, that malt flavor is just so restrained, but it's not grainy like an American malt or not like slightly tannic like some of the German Pilsner malts are. It's just clean. It basically it's like Planet, but if Planet on the malt flavor scale is like a 1 to 10, if that's like an 8, Super Pale's like a 2 or a 3. Has like a slight green flavor, but other than that, it really lets those other ingredients shine through. So if you're doing a hazy IPA, sometimes you want a little bit more of that residual malt character in there because that can play nicely with those fruity hops. The Planet Pale is a great choice. But if you really just want to showcase the hops and you want that sexy super pale color, super pale is the way to go. And then extra pale, it's kind of in the middle. That's a good choice where if you want to stay as close to the color for American Turo as you can, the extra pale kind of in the middle. That's a good one too.
I got a question here. How does the vanilla and chamomile complement the orange zest and spice note? Question mark. I don't know. I don't know
It
if that.
does. Yeah, you just have to be very, very restrained with it. I put 1 gram in a 5-gallon batch
Okay.
because if you put like an ounce in there,
Oh,
all you will
chamomile is
taste is tannin.
strong, strong, strong.
Yep.
I think our kid has two
Yep.
grams or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So a couple, 1 to 2 grams. I think it was one vanilla bean I threw in there, and then an ounce of bitter orange,
Awesome.
and 8/10 of an ounce of coriander, whatever the little jar you get from the supermarket. Just put the whole thing in there.
Perfect. Perfect. So what else you got going on? Anything, man? Or you doing any
Yeah. So
extract
the last couple
brewing
of weeks,
or?
yeah. I mean, that big storm that was down in the southeast yesterday is up here today, so I'm not brewing anything today. But I did a Kolsch last week. So I got all this beer. I figured I should just do some stuff that needs time. So I did the Kolsch last week, and I did a Baltic Porter a couple weeks ago. I think it was like the second week of the shutdown, if you will.
Right.
And I got some stuff in the pipeline. I think I'm going to do a couple sour beers. And once I finish this Kolsch, I put together an all Irish German pills that I'm looking forward to messing around with a little bit.
Awesome. Well, let me know how it comes out.
Well, you've been telling me to try the Irish stuff, and I know what the Muntons stuff is like. So it'll be interesting to do because the Kolsch is the Muntons Pilsner and it's a little bit of Munich.
Uh huh.
So interesting to do the Kolsch with the Muntons pills, and then the German pills with the Irish.
Okay. I think it'll be fine for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've had Sean's stuff, so I know it's good.
Yeah. So that's been real interesting. How is the beer scene coping there in Boston? I mean, I'm sure you guys are drinking a lot
Mm-hmm.
since you lost Tom Brady and all, you know. And the Sox aren't playing. I mean, what the hell are you guys doing up there?
we're just pacing around. There's not much else going on. We didn't have much hope for the Red Sox this year anyway. You used to have breweries that people are trying to do beer to go. It's been nice. I don't drink a ton of Trillium just because I'm too lazy to go into downtown Boston or where I live north of Boston. It's a huge pain in the ass to go south of Boston. They delivered it to our house, last week. We split a case with our neighbors. So that was kind of cool.
Oh,
And
that
I'm
is
doing what I
cool.
can to
Yeah.
support the local breweries. So I live in a city north of Boston, Beverly, Mass, and we have 4 breweries all within walking distance. So I've hit all 4 of them, and we have a great lager brewery in Salem. Well, not all lagers, but they do a lot of lagers. Notch, and I bought a lot of their stuff. So people are trying to pivot to beer to go, do cans, do growlers, do crawlers. I mean, it doesn't make up for having the tap rooms be closed, but if I was running a brewery, I would do anything I can to generate any positive cash flow at all.
Yeah, yeah, sure. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And
Mhm.
we've been trying to do our best around here, to make sure that we take care of all of our guys. We've been going around
Mm-hmm.
and doing like beer buys, and stocking up. And I know that probably doesn't account for a majority of their
Mm-hmm.
sales, but we're doing our best and trying to help them out the best we can and drink lots of beer, more than normal, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah,
anyway.
so
So, did you have anything else? Any new stuff coming out with Muntons anytime soon, or do you got any kind of new fun stuff coming down the pike, or something people maybe should try out? Or
no, we definitely talked about the malts. I know you guys are running a special right now on some of our malt extracts, some of the
yeah, the
liquid
red
stuff,
cans.
and
Uh huh.
break in, yeah. So I tell people who are listening who maybe haven't brewed in a while or maybe new, definitely check some of that out. I mean, because you can make great beer with malt extract. I mean, you're not going to make a Belgian wit or a German pils that's going to be the same color as what you get at a craft brewery. That's just the way malt extract is made. You take wort and then we run it through an evaporator to try to get the water out without increasing the color, but it's going to happen at least to a certain extent. This is how liquid malt extract is made. But and also obviously you don't have the same control over the base as you would you're doing an all grain. I did an Irish. The last extract beer I did was an Irish red, and the base was the Maris Otter malt extract. And if I had done that beer all grain, it would have been exactly the same. It was Maris Otter, a little bit, it was the Muntons caramel, the Muntons Crystal 150, a little bit of roasted barley. I steeped that. And, the keys to making good beer with extract, either A, do a full boil, or B, do a late extract addition. The easiest way to do that, especially for a stovetop brewer, is figure out how much do you have to boil off to get to 2.5 gallons. And then you top off with 2.5 gallons of water. So when I brewed an apartment, I knew if I started with 3 gallons boiled for an hour, I'd end up close to that 2.5. So if I'm doing an extract recipe where I need 2 cans, it's real simple. I steep my specialty grains. I had 1 can at the beginning and then 1 can at the end of the boil. That gives your wort the same viscosity as it was if you're doing that full boil. So you're not getting that kettle caramelization. You're not getting as much darkening in the boil, and you're getting that same hop utilization. So if you do that, use good water that's either filtered or bottled water. You can make great beer, and it's a lot shorter brew day. Those 5 hour all grain brew days. I mean, when you got nothing to do, fine, it's great. But if you just want to have to brew something and have that shorter brew day, for me, it's nice to work those in every once in a while, and especially if you're doing big beers. I have an imperial stout downstairs that was all grain. I did a 3 hour boil. I was out there all day. It was 35 degrees. I made it in November. If I just did that with extract, it would have taken half that time easy.
Right. Right. Well, and I think certain beers definitely go better with extract than other beers too.
Yeah.
So I mean, like stouts and porters and stuff really do extracts do lend better to those particular styles. I think more so than like a Helles or a Kolsch or something of that nature. So
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, you can do those, but it is going to be a little bit orangey. But yeah, I would definitely agree. Like pale ales, amber ales, IPAs, even. Yeah, absolutely. You could definitely do those and save that bit of time. Or if you're brewing on the crappy electric stove, a lot easier too.
awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for coming on today, buddy. I appreciate it. I can't wait for you to get back down here to Texas and have some more barbecue and beer and hang out, and we'll go see accounts again soon, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
And just keep in touch. If you have some other stuff, we might hit you up again. If you have some neat projects or something along the way, we're trying to do this every day at 3 p.m. So if you guys out there have any questions or have any ideas of shows that you'd like to talk to or experiments you'd like for us to try, that's always a something. Or if you want recipe development or something like that, we're here to help out. So, Jason, it's always absolute pleasure to talk to you, man. And he's a wealth of knowledge, and you can follow his blog at woodbebrewmaster.com, I believe.
Yeah,
On Facebook.
woodbebrewmaster.com. That'll take you right there. Okay. And also on Facebook, the Would Be Brewmaster.
Okay, perfect, man. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, make sure to give us a call here, or you can shoot us an email. You can actually leave questions here on this feed as well. And we're here to help you out, or you can live chat, or you can give us an email, or anything that you, any way of communication, we're here to help you out. And like I said, check out those Muntons products that we talked about today, as well as we do have, I think, a smoking deal on the red label cans. So get in on some of those if you can, and brew up some good stuff. Try some of this Planet Malt. I think you guys will be impressed with it. Along with the Super Pale. So give those all a shot and let us know what you think. But we'll see you later, Jason. Stay safe out there, buddy.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. And we'll see you guys next time.